Hi everyone, it's Marie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back today with a process video for Mixed Media Frenzy's YouTube hop. This is their monthly hop. They do one a month and anyone can join in. There's my layout that I've made. There's the layout that we're lifting from the lovely Julie Taylor. Absolutely stunning layout. Now I've popped it up in the right hand corner there of the video so that you can see it. I just quickly showed you then that I've used some Ranger opaque texture paste and a stencil from Peartree Cutfiles called Repeating Rainbows. Now I've used the 6x6 size of stencil. They're available in 6x6, 8x8 and 12x12. But I've used the 6x6 one because I wanted to do that kind of middle section, as you can see there, in the same way as the original. So I've got my mixed media going down the middle and then those kind of shards of paper coming out from the sides. Now, rather than using shards of paper, I decided to use this gorgeous Vicki Boutin paper. And that's like the colour wheel one. And as you can see there, I've cut it up and I end up not using all of the segments. But you'll see as I go kind of what I'm planning. So I'm trying to match the colours of the segments and the colours of my mixed media with the colours on the photograph. Now, as you can see there, I'm stood, well, you can see half of the photograph at the moment. I'm stood with my son and we're in the garden. There we are. We're in the garden and it was raining. So we decided to run outside with our new rainbow coloured brolly and take some fun pictures. I've got quite a few pictures of us with our big rainbow, it's a massive brolly as well, big rainbow coloured umbrella, and it just seemed to fit perfectly with this kind of explosion. It felt like a bit of an explosion from behind the photograph, this one, so that's what I wanted to try and do. So I wanted to use these beautiful sort of shards of paper coming out from behind, and I'm trying to match everything together. So I have pre-gessoed the full sheets of paper. This is Vicki, oh no, this is marshmallow cardstock, the thicker stuff, that's especially for mixed media. And I have put two very thin coats of clear gesso on there to allow the paint and stuff to move around so it doesn't soak straight into the page. So I'm using Ecoline watercolour inks. They're absolutely gorgeous. I originally bought a pack of 10 of these that came with a good range of colours, and I've then since added a few more because I'm a real big fan of turquoises and blues and bright greens, so I bought a few extra colours to add to my set. So you'll see me use quite a few of them as we go through. So I've kind of had my photograph on and off the page. Like I say, I want to try and match the colour behind the photograph with the colour that's on the photo with the actual umbrella. So I'm just going round, I'm wetting the paper first, then I'm dropping on some of the colour because each of these little pots of Ecoline inks come with a little dropper, so you can drop as much colour on as you want to. And then I'm using the colour to help it move around, and then I'm using my heat tool there to dry it off, because what I want are those lines of colour. I don't want the colours, I don't mind a little bit of melding together. You will have seen me go in with a wet wipe a couple of times to kind of damp it, to sort of dab up a little where I've had too much water or where the water's ended up kind of spilling across like it does here, and I got way too much yellow there, so I just dabbed a bit of that up to allow it to be the green colour that came through. And I think that's where I'm going to stop. It doesn't end up being where I stop. I do put some more colour on towards the top in a few minutes when I put my pieces of paper back on and play around again with the positioning of these shards, if you like. So I originally think I'm going to put that red in, and then I decide that the red doesn't quite fit, and I much prefer the blues. I am a real fan of blues and greens. And instead I'm going to play with the yellow and the green, and I'm going to try and line everything up so that where the lines of those shards finish is the same place, or roughly the same place on the photograph, and with the colour that I've placed on the background. So I do kind of faff around with these for a few minutes. I kind of had an idea in my head of what I wanted it to look like, and obviously I'm following Julie's for inspiration and using that as a lift, and I kind of had this idea in my head, but it just wasn't doing quite what I wanted it to do. But in the end, it does come back to where I wanted. So I've decided up at the top here that there was a bit of that rainbow showing. Like I said, that's the stencil I've used, Repeating Rainbows. And there was a little bit of it showing, and I wanted it to be I didn't want that colour showing, so I decided to go in there with what I thought was a lovely purpley colour. It turns out that it's more blue when it's dried. So what I do is I dry it off. It's still damp, and I just add a little bit of magenta in there and then kind of mix it all around, and that turns it that purpley shade that I was after. So I suppose that's the beauty of gesso, is that I've been able to mix those colours on the page to make them work for my layout, and I'm really pleased with how that's working. Just dropping a little bit of colour onto a palette there so I can do some splatters of red, because it just felt like it needed a few more splatters. Happy with how that's looking so far. I'll leave that to dry, and then I'm going to come back in and start matting my photograph. I want to do some distressed edges on this, and I'm trying to match the colour of what I'm doing here, backing again with what else is going on the page. I am using the Vicki Boutin Colour Study Collection, which is just gorgeous. I will be honest and say I sometimes struggle with Vicki Boutin collections. I'm more of I suppose I'm more clean lines than I am grungy, and I find some of her things a little bit grungy. I don't get me wrong, they're beautiful, I just struggle to use them. This collection, however, it's all the colour is just stunning, and it's really made me branch out into much more colour on my layouts. I think the last 3 or 4 layouts I've done have been really brightly coloured like this. I'm really enjoying them. So yeah, I'm just distressing the edges now of those shards. I've decided on these 6 shards. I think in a minute I start playing again, thinking that I'm going to add some more in, but in the end I do come back to these 6. So I'm just going to now cut one of the tags. I think I cut 2 of them out actually from the cut apart sheet, just to tuck in behind my photograph. I felt like looking at the original, there's lots of layers behind the photo, so I wanted a few more layers in there. So I cut a couple of tags out and tuck them in behind my photo. And I've chosen the multicoloured ones again, just fitting with the theme of this beautifully brightly multicoloured layout. Just wondering whether I'm going to use any of that cut apart sheet, but decide in the end that I'm not going to. And I start going through some of the stickers and finding a few things that I know are going to work on the layout. I do pull off the title Beautiful to start with, because there is a vertical title there down the side of the photograph on the original that says Explore. So it's kind of going for that, but in the end that does get moved and I don't stick with that, but you'll see how I change it shortly. So I'm just going to start attaching a few things together, the things I know I'm happy with, that I know are definitely going to stay there, and I start fastening those together. Now off camera I have just quickly sewn some lines of stitching down the middle of each of the shards. I've done a long thin line of black stitching, and then I've gone back and done some of the zigzag stitching, not all the way, just on part of it, to give that extra texture, again just like the original. And this is where I start playing with those shards again. I'm wondering whether I need to put more colour back in, whether I need to have that full circle. And I play around with it, and I can't make it work. It's not like the original, it's not what I was going for, so they come off. And I start sticking down what I've got instead. Now I'm just going to nip around with my scissors and start taking off the longish ends of thread. Quite a lot of the time I will tie off my ends, but this time I decided to just leave them loose and have that feeling of texture on my page. So I don't bother kind of tying them up or anything. I just chop them down a little bit and leave them there. And I really like the way that looks, that extra texture. What I didn't realise at the time of making this was that those lines down the middle of each of those shards not only mirror the sections on the brolly, but they also mirror the black lines on the brolly. So it's kind of all working together, even better than I expected. So I'm just going to play around with some of the stickers. I have the sticker book and the cardstock sticker sheet. That's all I have from this collection at the moment. I am contemplating getting more because it's just beautiful and I love it, and I love all the colour. So I'm picking out now some stickers that match in colour with those shards, and I'm going to put some of those stickers onto those different sections, and a few of those little hearts as well. And then I pull out the beautiful multicoloured stickers. These alphas are they're just wow. I should have got like 5 packets of those. They're just lovely. I decided to take Beautiful off. The black was not quite working for me. I like the little pops of black, but I wanted more colour, so I decided to go for a colourful title. Now here we go with me playing around with this title for absolutely ages. I wanted to do something along the lines of Live a Colourful Life or Live Life in Full Colour, and I just couldn't get these 2 sections on either side of the layout to work together. And then I was looking for smaller letters to do Live A, so I could have colourful life in those big alphas. Couldn't find it, so I tried them in the big ones. Then it was just a bit too much, so they come back off. And in the end, I decided to move the word colour down to this bottom section here. It just seemed to fit at the bottom of that shard beautifully. So I take all the rest off, put those back on the sheet, and instead of having any more of those alphas, I get out a set of LE Studio like little typewriter stamps, and I stamp the rest of the title onto that turquoisey coloured shard, and it works perfectly because it gets all the words that I wanted in my title, and I get that one big pop of colour for that word colour for my title. So really pleased with how that turned out. So I'm just stamping now Live Life in Full Colour, which is I just think the perfect title for this layout. So I've tucked in quite a few stickers. I've got a flower there, got a rainbow, and I've made a few little clusters. There's already quite a lot going on with regards to the shards and the mixed media background. It's all very, very colourful. So I don't want to go kind of too crazy and have too much going on. I am popping right now some glossy accents on the back of the alpha stickers. Now they are stickers and they were kind of stuck, but sometimes I just think you need a little bit of extra, especially when you're working on a mixed media background. So I've popped some glossy accents on there as well. Right now I'm just adding a few little golden dots around from the sticker sheet, and then I'm just going to take some pieces of thread and tie some onto my 2 tags that are behind my photograph. Again, just an extra bit of texture. This one takes a bit and it knocks off some of the other ephemera, like that butterfly falls off, but I do put it back. Happy with how that's going now. Really pleased with how it's working. It feels much better. I did want to try and put a sticker on that blue section, but just couldn't find one that worked, so left it off in the end. And then I found this black and white arrow, which just looked perfect to go along the line of one of the shards there. Did contemplate that little swirly heart there, but that didn't quite work for me. And then I found this rainbow, and I knew I had to have the rainbow on. So I was just trying to make that work and figure out where that was going to fit the best. And I quite like it up there, so that's where it stays. And then I put something different under that bottom corner of my photo. Try a few more bits here and there, but I decide that actually any more is going to make this layout look a little bit too busy. So I leave those off altogether. And then I just put one more sticker under that bottom corner to build up that cluster down there. The final thing you're going to see me do is to just take some Liquitex black acrylic ink and splatter some black splatters onto the page as well. There are pops of black, and like I said, I like pops of black. I just didn't want too much, and that just seemed to, those black pops there just seemed to finish the whole thing off, and I absolutely love how that layout ended up. So here you go. Here's some lovely close-ups now of the layout. So if you head down to the description box below, you will find links to everybody else who's taken part in this scrap lift for the Mixed Media Frenzy YouTube hub. Everyone else's links are down there, and please do be sure to head on over to their channels because there's some absolutely stunning layouts all following the same sketch. But thanks ever so much for watching. Bye for now.